Part 58. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 572. Chapter 572, Growing Up. They were drinking in the front yard, and they were chatting happily in the backyard. Zhishan and Zhihan, take care of the children. It was also the first time that Yan Ran joined her mother-in-law and others in their chat group. She only listened, not asked. The life in the He family courtyard is very leisurely. They began to experience the fun of childhood the next day. Mei Shui took the daughters-in-law of several families to experience it. Don't mention it, it's really interesting in another way. This is the first time for several daughters-in-law to experience such a life, and they are all more interested in playing than the men. As soon as you play, you will forget all your worries. I heard that Mei Shui had hunted a wild boar when she was young, and everyone was clamoring for her to hunt another one. They knew what she was capable of. They got up early one by one and said they wanted to follow her to play on Wild Boar Mountain. Mei Shui has no way to deal with them. Had no choice but to take them and set off. When the men got up, they all found that their wives were missing, and they met one by one in the courtyard. Where are the people? Will it be in the kitchen? Not in the kitchen. Okay, now it's good. If I lose my wife when I go back to my hometown, I won't be scolded to death when I go back. And when and others were complaining in the courtyard, Hyans came down from upstairs. Watching them discuss there, it was very interesting to join in. Stop looking for them, they are going to Wild Boar Mountain. He knew it when Mei Shui got up. Unlike them, everyone sleeps like a dead pig. What? Anshan exclaimed, why are they so brave? Although there have been no wild boars on Wild Boar Mountain in recent years, you can't take them with you. The village has always done a good job in environmental protection. After so many years, I'm afraid those wild boars have returned to Yebor Mountain. After all, there are more aquatic plants there. And Liang also started to tremble. They are really thinking about it? I didn't take it to heart when she said it yesterday. I thought my sister-in-law would not take her there, but I didn't think so. Don't worry. Seeing their anxious expressions, Hyans interrupted their thoughts. Mei Shui is still capable of protecting them. Besides, Jiaolong also went with her, so there is nothing to worry about. Okay, we'll go find them after breakfast now. Who's going to cook? He hadn't done cooking for many years, Hyans asked everyone. Compared with the comfortable life in Hejiakan, the life of Xiaopeng and his wife in Weivia continent is not so leisurely. You bastard, how many years have passed and your temper has become colder and colder? Looking at Lin Ziyi, who was about the same height as himself, Xiaopeng really wanted to slap him. As the children get older, the long-term relationship between them also makes them fall in love. No, 30 years have passed, and Xiaopeng's apprentice has long since become a powerful person. Yerugjuan is no longer the fat girl she used to be. She has grown into a big girl early and was born into the Ye family. She has her own unique temperament. Of course, in terms of temperament, she is very good at it. Because of her seniority, she became the famous beauty master uncle in the sect. No, don't confess too much to her, you've already circled Zongdan several times. It means that his apprentice is stubborn. He clearly has someone in his heart, but he refuses to speak out because of his identity and coldly rejects others. You brat, let me tell you, if your junior sister ran away with someone else, I would be really angry if I didn't break your legs. Xiaopeng was really worried about his apprentice. And what about Lin Ziyi himself? He has her in his heart, he understands this, and he also knows that she also has her, but the Ye family is really beyond his reach. His current achievements are not enough in the eyes of the Ye family. It doesn't matter if Xianxian is the daughter of a branch family, but who is her father? The head of the Ye family, the world-famous head of the Ye family. He still knows how much he weighs. If he comes to propose marriage at this time, he is afraid that he will never see his junior sister again. Lin Ziyi has always had ideas since he was a child. No matter how Xiaopeng forced him, he just refused to take the initiative. No, his master jumped in anger. Master Lin Ziyi had long been immune to his master's behavior, but he still felt uncomfortable seeing his master being angry for him. "Don't call me, brat, why did I accept such a worthless thing like you?" Xiaopeng drank tea angrily. Yesterday, Xianxian took the disciples from the sect to Kikan to recruit disciples. Her home happened to be there, and she wanted to go home and have a visit after not going back for many years. Originally, she invited Lin Ziyi to come with him, but Lin Ziyi rejected her directly. Xianxian was originally the one who took the initiative in matters between the two of them. This time, Xianxian was also angry. She was tired after taking the initiative for so many years. "He won't go if he doesn't go, huh? She will go home and ask her parents to make the decision, and then she will marry him home directly." Of course, this idea was also given to her by Xiaoyu. Women sometimes get tired if they take too many initiatives, no matter what the matter is, no matter how much they love. So Xianxian left, and Xiaopeng was so angry when he saw Lin Ziyi at home. Xiaoyu walked out of the house with cakes in her hand. When she saw the master and apprentice, she shouted helplessly, "Stop scolding the child. If Zer doesn't like Xianxian, you can't force the child." She had her own way to get Lin Ziyi to move. Yesterday, the master came to me and said that he wanted to be a matchmaker for Xianxian. He said he was the grandson of the Lord of Danfan. He was only in his early 30s, a few years younger than Xianxian, and his cultivation has now reached the integration stage. I'm a little behind in alchemy training. Being born in Danfan, my talent for practicing alchemy is not high, and I will not have a long-term memory in Danfan. No, Lord Danfan has a plan. This matter is true. The Lord of Danfan Peak did indeed tell this matter to Wanling Alchemy God. It's just that the Wanling Pill God knew about his two disciples and didn't agree. It happened that Xiaoyu heard the master mention something and took note of it. How bad is it? Xiaopeng has been practicing alchemy all his life, and his cultivation is not as important as alchemy training in his opinion. Can you compare with Zer? Lin Ziyi is now an 8th grade alchemist, and his reputation as He Shipeng is not inferior at all. In his eyes, no one can compare to his apprentice. What a pity, even if his apprentice fails to live up to his expectations, you will be angry or not. I can't compare to Zer in alchemy training, but Zer isn't interested in Xianxian. I thought, Xianxian is not too young, and after getting married, she can have a child sooner. It is extremely difficult for people with their cultivation level to have a child. However, the older they get, the more their cultivation level becomes stronger, and it becomes even more difficult to have a child. This is also the reason why people in the cultivation world get married early. Lin Ziyi listened silently throughout the whole process, but if you look carefully, you will find that he clenched his hands as if he was holding back something. Xiaoyu gave Xiaopeng a look, and Xiaopeng understood immediately. He pretended to sigh deeply. "You brat, let me ask you again, do you really not want to tell Xianxian?" After speaking, Xiaopeng looked at his apprentice and looked straight into his eyes. Lin Ziyi deliberately avoided it and then lowered his head. Seeing how unsatisfactory he was, Xiaopeng was so angry that he almost slapped him to death. Okay, I am a dignified half-step alchemist, but I am actually a loser. In this case, Xiaoyu, you can go to the master later and tell him that we accept this marriage. After saying that, Xiaopeng flicked his sleeves and left. Xiaoyu also sighed, "Zer, don't blame your master. You also know that if you wait any longer, Xianxian may not be able to conceive her own child in the future. The children of cultivators are so precious, so do you know." After saying a few words, Xiaoyu patted Lin Ziyi on the shoulder and left the yard. In the backyard, Xiaopeng had already set up a formation, and then began to secretly observe Lin Ziyi. If you don't die in silence, you will explode in silence. Lin Ziyi thought about it for an unknown amount of time, until his buttocks felt numb before he got up from the stone bench. As soon as he turned around, he disappeared into the small courtyard. After the people left, Xiaopeng patted his old arms and legs and walked out of the backyard. This kid, if you don't bring Xian back this time, I won't recognize him as my apprentice. Xiaoyu rolled her eyes at him. Hey, don't slap yourself in the face then. I can tell that this kid Zer has low self-esteem. Just like she was with him back then. Her parents always said that they were lucky to be married into such a good family and that they should cherish it. She said it every day and every time, so much so that she lost her confidence. For a while, she felt that she was not worthy of him. Fortunately, her mother-in-law saw her thoughts later and enlightened her, so that he and she became what they are now. Why do we have to feel inferior? Xiaopeng didn't understand. In this world of innocence, Lin Ziyi's qualifications can be considered top-notch. What else can he feel inferior to? Xiaopeng can't think of it. You don't understand. Xiaoyu gave him a look and then went out. And the other side. Lin Ziyi was indeed heartbroken. He couldn't imagine how his junior sister would be in someone else's arms in the future. It is even more unimaginable that she becomes someone else's bride. As long as he thought about this, he couldn't help but want to tear that man into pieces. After leaving Danzong, Lin Ziyi felt that he had nowhere to go. The heart is very impetuous and the legs move according to the heart. Unknowingly, he walked towards Qi City. That's right, just go. Walking day and night, trying to numb myself with such exertion. As for Yerugjuan, she arrived at Kikan early and returned to her home. Because of the unhappiness in her heart, she found her mother and told her interesting things about her time in the school. As she spoke, Lin Ziyi's name appeared in her mouth. As someone who had been there, how could Yes mother not know about her daughter's changes? Xian, tell mother, have you fallen in love with your senior brother? The Ye family is actually very open-minded. Having reached this status, the Ye family does not need to use children from the family to marry. Born in Kikan, they are already top-notch beings. Besides, the Ye family doesn't have so many secrets, and the family is very harmonious. Yerugjuan has been well protected both at home and in Danzong these years. Her thoughts are shown on her face and can be seen through at a glance. Yamu's cultivation is not as good as her daughter, but she is her mother. How can she not understand her daughter? Yerugjuan was very embarrassed to be pointed out by her mother. In the end, she nodded and said with red eyes, "Mother, but senior brother doesn't like me." When Yerugjuan said this, she was full of grievances. How can a mother not feel sorry for her child? Since he doesn't like you, why don't you ask your parents to find someone who likes you? Yamu asked. No, mother, you can't tell your father. Yerugjuan's reaction was great. She doesn't want the love she hasn't expressed yet to disappear like this. She still wants to give it a try. At this time, Yes father also walked in from the outside and happened to hear his daughter's words, "What should I not tell my father about?" When his precious daughter comes back, no matter how busy Father Ye is, he will spare 2 days to spend with his beloved daughter. The entire Ye family knows about this. So when Yerugjuan comes back, they will not disturb the family head if anything happens. At that time, if the little girl hadn't run out naughtily, she would not have entered the alchemy sect and became an alchemy master. You must know that practicing weapons also requires fire spiritual roots, and Yerugjuan has dual spiritual roots of wood and fire, which complement each other. It's a pity that the little girl was always sick when she was a child, and the head of the Ye family always fed her some elixirs, but the elixirs were all made from medicinal materials, so how could they not be bitter? Yerugjuan came up with the idea of practicing alchemy by herself when she was very young. That's why he rushed to Danzong when it was recruiting disciples. When he left, he took a few of his followers with him, which can be said to be very bold. Fortunately, the head of the family loves his daughter very much, and the people around her are all masters among masters. It also allowed her to reach Danzong safely and finally enter the inner gate of Danzong. When Yes father found out, he was so angry that he was fortunately persuaded by Yes mother. This is the opportunity that I have been waiting for more than 10 years to meet my daughter. Seeing his daughter living so happily in Danzong, Father Ye felt relieved. But now, he saw his daughter's eyes were red again. How could he not be angry? Who is it? Who bullied you? Tell daddy and see if daddy doesn't pluck out his skin. Yes, father is an impatient person, and he can't stand it when his daughter is wronged. Dad, no one bullies me. Seeing her father getting angry, Yerugjuan hurriedly grabbed her father who was running away. Who am I, the little princess of the Ye family, the most popular uncle in Danzong, who dares to bully me? As she spoke, Yerugjuan smiled and comforted her father. Yes father glanced at Yes mother, and when he saw her shaking her head, he stopped asking any more questions. Yes father had only 3 women in his life, and gave birth to 4 sons and 1 daughter. 2 of the sons were born to Mrs. Ye, and the other 2 were born to his 2 wives. At home, no one knows that Yerugjuan is the treasure of the Ye family. Even Yes father's biological son dare not mess with her, let alone anyone else. Hearing what his daughter said, Father Ye thought that no one in the family would dare to bully his Xian. But have you been wronged outside? Ye Fuzuo asked nonchalantly. No way, how could I be wronged? Dad, you are overthinking. By the way, why don't you see my brother and the others today? Are they not at home? Yerugjuan didn't want to talk about it anymore and hurriedly changed the subject. When it comes to his son, Yes father is not happy. His cultivation is not as good as his daughter's, and his achievements are not as good as her daughter's. Each one of them is very unpromising. Your eldest brother has gone out to practice with his master, and your second brother and the others are practicing in the Chi section. Those who practice weapons like them can improve their strength by constantly practicing weapons until they break through. Sometimes Father Ye is glad that his daughter did not practice martial arts, otherwise. Thinking of his nieces, Father Ye was very grateful to his daughter's master. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 573. Chapter 573, Plot. Where did the eldest brother go to practice? Hasn't he made a breakthrough yet? The eldest brother and the third brother were born to the same mother, while the second brother and the fourth brother were born to 2 other aunts. However, the relationship between the 5 brothers is still very good. But it will be a little bit apart. Most men in the world of cultivation have 3 wives and 4 concubines, mainly to have children. Of course, there are also those who have 1 husband and 1 wife. Those people are true love. Father Ye, even though he loves Yerugjuan so much, he is not the kind of dedicated person. But he is still very concerned about his children. Yemu has never objected to her husband welcoming new people, but she would pity alone in the dark. As a woman, who doesn't want her husband to be alone in his life? Your eldest brother is still a little short of a breakthrough. His master won't let him take the elixir, so he's stuck. No, let's take him out to practice. Father Ye is not too concerned about his sons. Well, that's compared to Yerugjuan. After the father and daughter chatted for a while, Father Ye left. As soon as Yes father left, Yes mother sighed. Xian, there is nothing wrong with liking someone, but don't find someone like your father, otherwise no one will tell you about the suffering in this life. As a person who has experienced this, Yes mother knows this. Life is hard. Yerugjuan disliked those 2 aunts very much when she was a child, but they were also hard-working people. Forget it. Mother, my brother will not be like my father. It is true that her father loves her, but she also loves her mother. You You don't know how to avoid speaking a little, and you are not afraid that your father will be sad when he hears it. She has had enough in her life, and she deserves to have such sensible children. Love cannot be expected, but family affection is not a loss for her. She is happier than anyone else with 2 children. As long as you don't ask for too much, people's hearts will be satisfied. Mother, why don't you come back to Danzong with me to stay for a while? My master has said this several times indeed. The master often asked her to take her mother back to stay for a while. Yes, mother wanted to go, but she couldn't worry about her 2 sons. Even though the Ye family doesn't have any secrets, she doesn't dare to test the human heart. If her sons all get married, she will go to Danzong to live there. The passion between them as a couple has long since disappeared. Having only happens a few times a year. Wait a little longer, wait a little longer. When you get married, my mother will always live in your house. Yemu joked with a smile. Mother Yerugjuan felt embarrassed. After Ye's father returned to his study, he began to arrange food and clothing for his daughter. Of course, he is also anxious about his daughter's marriage. Now that my daughter is a high-ranking uncle of Danzong, the marriage has not been decided by him as the father. But he also planned to discuss her marriage with Suangsuan's master in a few days. Shikung is a big city, with no less than 1 million people living here. Of course Chizone knew that Danzone was recruiting disciples in Chi City. I was very unhappy at first, but the Dan sect also said that the Chi sect could also go to their Dan city to recruit disciples. The 2 cities can be regarded as connected. Of course, Yerugjuan's reasons are also involved. Given Yerugjuan's status in Danzong, everyone must give her some respect. There is also a branch of the Dan sect in Chi City. Yerugjuan cannot stay at Ye's house every day. She has to be busy with serious things. It has only been half a month since the Dan sect recruited new disciples. She took the lead this time, firstly to go home and see her parents, and secondly to deal with the matter of her senior brother coldly. She really likes her senior brother. She wanted to break the barrier between herself and her senior brother. The master was right. Even if a girl loves someone again, she must have her own restraint. Senior brother also likes her, she can feel this, but for some reason, she just can't get close to him. Coming out this time is also to give herself and her senior brother a chance. If it doesn't work out, she doesn't know what to do. The more she thought about it, the sadder she became. Yerugjuan stayed in Danbu all the time, busying herself all day long without leaving any space to think about him. The other side. Lindsay, who had walked into the bar without knowing it, looked at the big characters on the city wall, and his heart trembled. Are we still here? Can I really do it? Can we really be together? Lindsay asked himself in his heart. These days, he has thought a lot about their growing up together. Over the past few decades, his feelings for her have long since changed from being of the same family to another. Seeing her being welcomed by so many disciples in the sect every day, only he knew how uncomfortable he felt. But who is he? In the past, his family was the Lin family of Dan City, but now, he is just a disciple of his master. Is he worthy? No. He is not worthy. He is not worthy of her. She deserves better. He always told himself this in his heart, but if he really did it, his heart would hurt like a knife. Unknowingly, he came. He still couldn't let go of her. Thinking of the words of the master and the others, his heart was filled with tears and he was unwilling to let her go to be happy. Because she was happy, what should he do? Since everything has come, then he won't let go. It can only be his. As soon as Lindsay's heart knot opened, the whole world became brighter. Strode towards the Tool City. Wearing Danzong's clothes, none of the people guarding the city gate stopped him. When he arrived in the city and looked at the noisy scene around him, Lindsay actually had a smile on his face. He said softly, Junior sister, I'm here. Since he has the intention, he will give her the best. Lindsay did not rush to rescue his junior sister, but first sent a message to his master, asking him to come to Chi City to propose marriage to his junior sister. He has always heard his master talk about how he proposed marriage back then. If there is an engagement, the junior sister always looks forward to it with envy, so this time he satisfied her. You brat, I finally figured it out. It's not easy. It seems I have to take you out for a walk more often in the future. After receiving the letter from his apprentice, Xiaopeng was very excited. Well, I figured it out, junior sister is mine, Lindsay said to his master with certainty. Haha, good boy, yes, yes, he is my master's apprentice. Master, since you brought more betrothal gifts when you came, you can't let it go to your junior sister. After saying that, Lindsay turned off the sound transmission stone. I don't care how the master dances. Xiaopeng was so angry that he jumped up and down just as Lindsay thought. You brat, why do you want me to pay you a betrothal gift when you get married? What does it have to do with me? Before this sentence could be shouted out, Lindsay shut the door on him. Xiaoyu was sitting nearby, and of course she listened to all the conversation between the master and the disciple. Well, today, don't you love to say that once you are a teacher, you will always be a father? Now it's up to you, the father, to do your part. Be prepared. I can't wrong my apprentice. Xiao Yuefan's sarcastic words were so refreshing. Daughter-in-law, please don't, those things are all ours. Xiaopeng pursed his lips and said with a look of reluctance. It's okay, what's yours is yours, what's mine is mine, you can take yours, or you can go to the master to ask for it. After saying that, Xiaoyu ran away. She had to prepare and then go to do justice for her apprentice. Xiaopeng is fine. But his wife's words reminded him that he still had a master. The heartbeat is worse than action. Xiaopeng left the courtyard directly. Where did he go? Of course he is looking for his master. Lindsay bought a big yard in the city so that his junior sister could live in her parents' home later. Of course, Lindsay's movements were not concealed. Yerugjuan was not alarmed by his big movements, but his behavior attracted the attention of the Ye family master. After learning that he was Suangxuan's senior brother, the head of the Ye family came over to take a look. When Lindsay saw the head of the Ye family, his whole body was filled with respect. This made the head of the Ye family a little confused. But he didn't think much about it, he only thought that he was an elder for the sake of his precious daughter. In terms of seniority, he is really inferior to Dan Zong's great uncle. Why did my nephew think of settling in our Chi city? People like them always choose to settle in their own sex city. He actually came to his own city, how could he not be surprised and happy? It's convenient here except for talking more in front of a few close people. Lindsay rarely spoke to anyone. Even if this man is the junior sister's father. It's really convenient, nephew. We can go to our house to get together tonight. Xian doesn't know you're here yet. The head of the Ye family is used to it. He has been like this for so many years. No, now was not the time. Lindsay did not dare to disturb his junior sister. Let's wait until the master comes. But Master Ye, please don't tell my junior sister about my arrival. Lindsay clasped his hands and saluted. The head of the Ye family frowned and asked somewhat unclearly, why? Because the master and the others are coming over in a few days, we are here to give the junior sister a surprise. Lindsay had no choice but to move out his master, otherwise it would be difficult for the head of the Ye family to explain. Hearing that Master Yu and Master Peng were coming, the head of the Ye family was very happy. This is the first time they have come to Ye's house in so many years. I wonder when my mentor will arrive. The head of the Ye family was very concerned about the arrival of the two of them. For 3 days at most, please ask Master Ye to cover up in front of junior sister. Haha, okay, this is a small matter, I will definitely not inform Xian. It seems that my daughter is still very popular in Danzong. Then thank you very much, Mr. Ye. Hey, what's your name, Mr. Ye? My nephew is out of town, so why not call him uncle? He and the Mr. Lin family were considered acquaintances back then, but life was almost always unsatisfactory. If you leave early, you will suffer for this child. Uncle Lin Ziyi was not pretentious. The two of them had a great time chatting. After seeing off the Ye family leader, Lin Ziyi started to get busy again. The marriage must be done, and he doesn't intend to delay it any longer. As the master said, giving birth to a child is not easy, and he doesn't want to make her suffer. Lin Ziyi's massive purchase here was a little unclear to the Ye family's owner, but he didn't think much about it. Think it is his filial piety. Xiaopeng defrauded a lot of good things from his master, and he took them out one by one and counted them. I found it was still a little worse. He had no choice but to use his own family resources, which made his heart ache. You brat, if you dare to be disloyal to me in the future, I'll take your skin off you while taking it, he scolded Lin Ziyi. Seeing him like this, Xiaopeng became silently happy. You can't do these. These are for men. You should not only give them to your in-laws, but also your in-laws' mothers. There are also these meteorites from the sky. These are good things for weapon training. Why don't you put more of them? Xiaoyu pointed at the things Xiaopeng took out. Xiaopeng's heart was dripping with blood. You still despise it? Any of these things are priceless treasures. Is it enough for me to use them as Xuanxuan's betrothal gift? If he could, he would not be willing to take them out. Humph, don't think I don't know you. Bring out some of the good things that my virgin mother brought. Xiaoyu found that Xiaopeng became more and more stingy as he got older. That's a good thing, whether it's medicinal materials or weapons training materials, they are priceless treasures. You have so much space, don't be stingy. The couple began to plot against each other for the sake of their apprentice. What do you want as your betrothal gift? What do you want as your dowry, etc. The two of them had been quarreling in the small courtyard for several days. In the end, Xiaopeng went to Danfan to rob some, and then took the things to the Qi city. Xiaopeng is very fond of their marriage. Before leaving, he was afraid that he was not impressive enough, so he took many disciples from the inner courtyard with him. It's full of style. There are many Xiaoyu here, and she also brings many female disciples from the inner courtyard. Danzong knew about the marriage of their senior brother and sister, but the master of Danfan was furious. How could he possibly swallow this after robbing him, and then taking his things to give to his grandson's love rival? What a pity, by the time he came to the door, the Xiaopeng man had already run away. Item City. A group of people came outside the city, and the city defenders immediately became vigilant when they saw it. As people got closer, they recognized the clothes those people were wearing. It turns out they are from Danzong. Hurry up and let them go. After seeing clearly, the general guarding the city breathed a sigh of relief. Waving his hand to ask his men to open the city gate. Led by Xiaopeng and Xiaoyu, a team of more than 100 people entered the city in a carefree manner. When Danbu learned that someone from Danzong was coming, he was still confused. Minister Dan immediately found Yerugjuan and asked her what was going on. But Yerugjuan didn't know it herself. I don't know. Let's go. I'll go and see with you. She has been setting up the venue recently, and she does everything herself. So I really don't know much about things outside. Seeing this, the minister had no choice but to follow her to the gate of Danbu. When she saw the person coming, Yerugjuan rushed towards him and said, "Master." Her voice was very loud. Her voice, master, scared everyone. Isn't this my great uncle here? The minister took the lead and knelt on the ground one by one. Welcome our great uncle. All the disciples of the Dan department knelt on the ground and knelt down respectfully. You must know that alchemist, yes master, is a semi-divine alchemist. In the Weivu realm, you can count them all on one hand. They were as if they were seeing gods. Xiaopeng waved his hand and asked everyone to stand up, no need to be polite. The sound is very soft, but everyone can hear it. Master, why are you here? Yerugjuan was very happy to see her master. But she always looked outside. Unfortunately, she didn't see the person she thought about day and night. Stop looking, you stinky girl, your senior brother is not here. Xiaoyu knocked her head angrily. It will be completed at the end of the month, and the new express book will set sail immediately. Please support me. On April 28th, the new book Farmer's Blessed Sweet Wife will be released online. I hope everyone will support it. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 574. Chapter 574, Dispatch. Oh, Xianxian was a little disappointed, but she was still very happy to see the master. Hurry, let's go in first and talk about anything. If we go in, fortunately, Danbu has money, so even if there are hundreds of disciples, everyone still has a place to live. The minister arranged accommodation for the disciples who were left behind by the great uncle. They followed Yerugjuan to her residence in Danbu. Okay, let go of your master, she is mine. Xiaopeng couldn't help but pull the two of them apart, and directly took his wife into his arms. Damn girl, you want to hug your senior brother, why are you hugging my wife? He could bear it outside, but here he couldn't bear it. Humph, you stingy guy, there are no outsiders here, and they get along with each other as freely as in Danzong. I'm stingy, what's wrong? Seeing that the two were about to quarrel, Xiaoyu quickly interrupted them, okay, don't even look where you are. As soon as Xiaoyu spoke, the two fell silent. Master, master, why didn't senior brother come? What are you here for this time? Is it to recruit new disciples? Yerugjuan asked several questions in a row, and she couldn't stop asking. You girl, why do you have so many problems? Xiaopeng rolled his eyes at her angrily. Xiaoyu glared at Xiaopeng directly. Go to the side. Xiaopeng left Yerugjuan's yard without saying a word. He was going to find the useless apprentice. After they left, Xiaoyu looked at her lovely apprentice and used her hands to cover the hair on her face. In the blink of an eye, my little girl has grown up. She has only one son in her life, but after many years, she has not been able to see her son again. Originally, they thought that as long as the teleportation array was opened, they would be able to go down to the next world to see their relatives. It's just that no one expected that the teleportation array once in a century would break down, and no one knew when it would be repaired. So this delay lasted for more than 10 years. If it weren't for the two children by their side, she and brother Peng would probably not be able to endure it. Master, what are you talking about? I've always been like this. Xianxian didn't understand what the master meant. Yu Xiaoyu nodded her forehead angrily, this time your master and I came to kick in for your business. You are not young anymore. You can't delay starting a family any longer, otherwise you will be in trouble in the future. I can't have any more children. You must know that fertility pills are difficult to refine. Even their master only has 2 pills in hand. She and brother Peng wanted to eat, but they were both at this level of cultivation. If they really wanted to have a child, no one knew what would happen. So, they didn't eat. Fortunately, there are 2 children around, otherwise they may not be able to resist homesickness. Master Yerugjuan became shy when it came to marriage, but my senior brother didn't even confess to me. Apart from her senior brother, she had never thought of marrying anyone else. Seeing her like this, Xiaoyu smiled helplessly. If you don't marry your senior brother, are you not going to get married in this life? Master, she couldn't give this answer. She loved her senior brother. She didn't know what the future would bring, but she knew that she could survive without his senior brother. Seeing that her eyes were clear, Xiaoyu felt relieved. Okay, master, I won't tease you anymore. Getting married is no small matter. Xian, have you thought clearly? Xiaoyu asked seriously. If it's senior brother, I promise. If it's someone else, master, I still need to consider it. It's not that she is cold, she has relatives and a master behind her, and she can't live just for senior brother all her life. Okay, I will remember your words. Xiaoyu was afraid that this silly girl would be trapped in love for the rest of her life. Yes, master, I have remembered it. Seeing that the master was so serious, Xian also replied seriously. Master, are you here this time for the marriage between me and my senior brother? Xian asked excitedly. Xiaoyu smiled and shook her head silently. She didn't say anything anyway. You just need to remember that I am here just for your marriage. She would not tell her more. Because of the arrival of a large number of inner disciples of the Dan sect in Qi City, the Qi sect was quickly alarmed. The steward of Qi Zone even went down the mountain to ask. The seniority of the steward who came down was still a bit low in front of Xiaopeng. When they met, he treated Xiaopeng very respectfully. Senior, I don't know what kind of genius disciple the Dan sect has discovered this time. The generation is a bit different, but the identity is not the same. The sect's stewards must not lose Xiaopeng's face. Haha, I'm overthinking it. Genius disciples are so good. This visit can be regarded as my sect's private matter. Of course Xiaopeng knew what he was worried about. Of course it can be said to be a happy event for our two families. Xiaopeng smiled, but his question and answer made the Qi Zone steward a little confused. Please ask senior for advice. He really didn't know. The sect steward's surname is Chen, and his weapon training level is considered to be at the top. However, because he could not make any progress in weapon training, the sect leader assigned him to be the sect steward. He is also considered the deputy head of the clan. A happy event for the two families. He couldn't figure out what happy events the two families had together. Manager Chen did not know the internal news of Danzong. Of course, Danzong himself knew very little about the two brothers and sisters. Let alone outsiders. He is my incompetent disciple. No, my Taoist companion's disciple is not from your Qi city. A happy event is approaching for these two people. As a master, of course, you cannot wrong your own disciple. Speaking of this, there is something else that Manager Chen doesn't understand. He also knew that the daughter of the Ye family became a disciple of the Moon Pill God. For this reason, he specifically asked about Yerugjuan's qualifications. After learning that she could not achieve greater development in weapon training, he let the matter go. But I didn't expect that the daughter of the Ye family was actually so capable. She was really a blockbuster in Danzong. As a daughter of the Ye family, it is a supreme honor to be able to enter the inner gate of the alchemy sect and worship the alchemy god. She is still the only one among several cities. This is really a happy event. After hearing this, Manager Chen burst into laughter. This matter is so well concealed that I don't even believe it. Since we are a family, Manager Chen's attitude towards Xiaopeng has also changed. Xiaopeng didn't say much about this. He is a straightforward person. If it weren't for his identity, he would have friends all over the world. This is all his master's fault. Why should he have such a high status when he has nothing to do? A few cities follow ancient rituals, and seniority is something that everyone values. Don't talk about you, I only found out a few days ago. Xiaopeng pretended to be angry. When Manager Chen saw this, he immediately acted as a peacemaker. The juniors are all young people. Young people are impulsive and don't retaliate for a while, so we have to forgive them. The chat here is very enjoyable. The head of the Ye family also rushed to Lin Ziyi's yard because of the arrival of Manager Chen. Lin Ziyi also looks like a newlywed here. Every bit of it was arranged by him himself. This place carries a lot of his sustenance and yearning. As soon as the head of the Ye family arrived, he was confused when he saw the changes in Lin Ziyi's yard. But this is not the time to pay attention to these things. Our Guanxi Chen and the tutor here, the head of the family, was sweating. Lin Ziyi nodded. Uncle, please come with me. Good. Soon, the head of the family met Lin Ziyi's master. This was the second time he saw a real person. Ye Yan of the family has met two venerables. No matter what status the head of the family has in front of Lin Ziyi, he is just a junior in front of manager Chen and Xiao Peng. Hey, the rightful master is here, come here quickly, we are talking about you. Manager Chen is very good at reading people's faces. You must know that since Ye Huok is a member of Danzong's family, he must treat him well. Manager Chen is very polite. Lin Ziyi saw them meeting and planned to go out, but Xiao Peng stayed behind. Don't leave yet. We are just talking about you and Xian. Since your father-in-law is here, let's discuss it together. Xiao Peng's words shocked Lin Ziyi and Ye Yan half to death. Lin Ziyi had long been prepared to expose this matter, but at this moment, he felt a little unsure. As the saying goes, all new sons-in-law are afraid of Mount Tai. And the head of the family is even more confused. What is the matter between him and Xian? Sir, is Xian a daughter of the family? He asked in disbelief. Seeing him like this, how could Xiao Peng not know something that he didn't know yet? Yes, my Taoist companion's disciple is your daughter Yerugjuan. Since it was revealed, Lin Ziyi also took the risk. Kneel down in front of Father Ye. My son-in-law pays homage to my father-in-law. Yes, father immediately avoided it. Get up quickly, what is going on? Lin Ziyi couldn't afford it, so he knelt on the ground and explained their affairs. Of course, what he said was not that Yerugjuan had been chasing him, but that he couldn't get what he asked for and wanted to kill her first and then tell her later. Yes, father was very proud of this. But the master was still there, so he didn't dare to show it too much. Except for the fact that she is a disciple of the moon god, the Ye family is really not worthy of being a disciple of the Danzong, Peng Dan god. Seeing that Ye's father was silent, Xiao Peng immediately stood up and said, I know that my disciple is being rude. No, I will come to propose marriage in person. Can the Ye family agree? A disciple who fails to live up to his expectations is a source of worry. Your Majesty, Father Ye still respects the Pendan god. Can I go home and discuss this matter with Xian? It's not that he disagrees, it's that he doesn't want to be the boss of his daughter in this matter. Through these years, he has not heard his daughter talk about her and Lin Ziyi. What if she doesn't want to? He doesn't want to force his baby daughter. Besides, Madam's test was not easy either. Although he has two concubines, he still respects Mrs. Ye very much. Of course, the Ye family leader can certainly go back and discuss this matter. Let's do this. The day after tomorrow. The day after tomorrow is a great day. In 2 days, if the Ye family leader agrees, then wait at home for me to come to the door in person to help this unsatisfactory apprentice. Propose marriage. Of course, Xiao Peng's words are not final. If Xian is not happy, as the master, I will not force her to do so. You can just send someone to inform her. There is a way forward and a way back. Yes, the head of the Ye family was still beating hard at this time, and he had to go back to discuss it. After seeing off the head of the Ye family, Xiao Peng and manager Chen started drinking. There is no other way, this is his hobby. Lin Ziyi went down to prepare some dishes for his chef to go with the wine. As soon as Father Ye got home, he came to Mrs. Ye's courtyard. He saw his wife admiring flowers and scenery in the courtyard, with a smile he had not seen for a long time on her face. Mr. Ye's heart skipped a beat, but soon, he sighed, shook his head and walked over. From the time he brought the first woman home, he knew that they would never be the same again. She knew even more that her smile would no longer be for her. Madam, as soon as she got closer, the head of the Ye family called out. Mrs. Ye glanced back. When she saw it was the head of the Ye family, she immediately put away the smile on her face. The master of the house is here, I don't know what's going on. Yes, change happened quickly. The head of the family all sees this. He knew that he could not help her. When he was young, he did not consider many things so comprehensively. By the time he repented, it was too late. Madam, do you know about Xian and Lindsay? The head of the family didn't have much time, so he asked directly. Ye was stunned for a moment, but thinking about the news she heard today, she nodded, I know. How could a mother not know about her daughter's condition? Hearing her words, the head of the family felt sad. He didn't know it. What do Xian think? The head of the family sat next to Ye and asked. Xian can't get it, this has been her wish for many years. In a daughter's house, thoughts are most obvious, and only men who don't care can't find them. How could a mother-in-law not know this? I didn't say it just because I didn't want to point it out, and I didn't want my children to be sad. The news he got from his wife was completely different from what Lindsay said. He didn't know how to make a decision. You don't need to be in a hurry. When Xian comes back, you can ask her yourself. What about Madam? What do you think? Apart from Lindsay's identity as Danzong, there is nothing about him that is worthy of his daughter. Me, Ye looked at him, do you dislike him for not having a good family background? After many years of getting along, she still understood him. But when a daughter's family marries someone, does it depend on his family background? After saying this, Ye withdrew her gaze. Sometimes, family background is the foundation and backing, but for lovers, it is a burden and a setback in love like her. The head of the family understood what she meant. So Father Ye opened his mouth and called Ye's nickname. How many years have passed and they have never called each other by their names. The wife and the head of the household are all used to refer to each other. Ye was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, if the head of the house has any thoughts about Xian, you can tell her in person. I think you will get the answer. I am feeling a little unwell today, head of the house, please come back. Are you feeling distressed? I have long been numb. Are you excited? It has been painful for a long time. Memories. Bitter. Looking up at the sky, I didn't want my unsatisfactory tears to streak across my carefully maintained face. Father Ye sighed and stood up, I know I couldn't forgive you back then, Susu. After all these years, can't you still forgive me? After saying that, the head of the family gave a wry smile, that's right, just like you back then, if it weren't for the fact that you were pregnant with the third child, you would have been afraid of us. The past is over. It's good now. If the head of the house is tired, just go and rest back then. Hey, if it weren't for that child, she wouldn't have wronged herself so much. Family background, joke. End of this chapter. 80s, the farmer's wife is the boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 575. Chapter 575, finally reunited. Because it wasn't because of her family background, why would she have suffered so much for so many years? Seeing that she didn't want to mention it again, the head of the family turned around and left. When he walked to the door of the courtyard, he looked back at the person lying on the deck chair. She is still the same Susu as before. In the evening, the head of the family met Xian. After asking about her, he knew that the marriage was settled. After inviting Suan's master, the head of the family began to discuss Suan's marriage with the moon god. 3 days passed in a blink of an eye. The marriage between Danzong and Qizong was also spread by people around. Both the Zhen sect and the Ling sect sent people to congratulate him. Since the wedding is not being held in the sect, there is no need for the big shots in the sect to come. Neither the family nor Lindsay deserve it. Of course, all the people I've made good friends with are here. Danzong was even more generous and directly gave the most precious gifts to the guests. For example, soul-nourishing pill. Be angry when meeting people. It's really the biggest hand contest in the world. You must know that the price of a soul-nourishing pill on the market is exorbitantly high, let alone giving it to anyone. Those sect disciples with lower status were all happy. These elixirs were all practiced by Xiaopeng himself. Tens of thousands of them. When the head of the Ye family learned about it, he was shocked. In order to earn face for his daughter, he also took out a lot of third-grade spiritual weapons, used to return gifts. Everyone who came back to attend the wedding came back with a full load. As for the magnanimity of the two families, people from all major sects said that they were rich and wealthy. After Lin Ziyi welcomed the bride, he did not go back to Danzong with his master, but stayed with Yerugjuan in Kikan. The marriage of Princess Ye's family has become the biggest hot topic in the past 6 months. Those who know them are very proud. They know the local tyrants. Xiaopeng and Xiaoyu returned to their sect after finishing their wedding matters. As soon as I came back, I got good news, that is, there was movement on the teleportation array. If they want to go to the lower world, they can prepare now. The two of them came to the master's door. Wanling Danzun knew the life experiences of his two disciples, and had no objection to them going to the lower realm. He only asked them not to forget to practice, because there was a fairy land above them. Becoming an immortal or a demon depends on whether they can break through in their limited lifespan. He himself has been stuck in this barrier for a long time. Since accepting his apprentice, his barrier has been loosened, and he is expected to break through within 1,000 years. Master, why don't you come with us to see the lower world? Xiaopeng still liked this master very much. If they leave, he will be alone in Danzong, which will be too lonely. Wanling Danzun shook his head, I won't go with you as a master. The spiritual energy in the lower world is not as good as here. If I break through, I'm afraid I will die. You must know that breakthrough depends not only on your own cultivation, but also on the surrounding aura. As Xiaopeng said, even if he gathers the power of the world, he will not be able to break through the calamity of leaders. Seeing that the master was unwilling, Xiaopeng did not force it. Oz and the others are all here. If the master is bored, you can go and play with them. His master is too lonely. Xiaoyu was also very worried about the master. How about I call Xian and the others back? Even though the master usually didn't want to interact with them, he still liked these two children in his heart. Hearing Xiaoyu's words, Wanling Danzun didn't object at all. It doesn't matter if you come back, it will be convenient to take care of you if you get pregnant. A monk who is pregnant and has a baby is not something that ordinary people can take care of. Well, I'll go deliver the message right away. Xiaoyu nodded. After leaving, she was most worried about Xian. The two of them stayed with Wanling Danzun for several days, and they did not leave until Lin Ziyi and the others arrived. Before leaving, Xiaoyu and Xiaopeng asked them to take more care of their master. Lin Ziyi and Xian were both very sad to see their master and his wife leave. No matter how reluctant they were to leave, they knew that the master and his relatives were still there, and they had to go back and take a look. Not long after the master and apprentice reunited, news came from the teleportation array that the teleportation array in the lower realm was opened. When Xiaopeng and Xiaoyu left, Xian cried like a child. Even Lin Ziyi, who had always been aloof, had red eyes. You must take care of yourself and wait until the master comes back. Xiaoyu is emotional and saw them crying. She couldn't help but shed tears. Xiaopeng took Xiaoyu's hand and walked step by step towards the teleportation array. With a flash of bright light, the two figures disappeared. Looking at the empty space, Xian burst into tears. Lin Ziyi felt very distressed when he saw her crying. Don't cry, master and the others will come back, he firmly believed. The other side. Xiaopeng and Xiaoyu were teleported back to Danzong in Qin state. Looking at the familiar yet unfamiliar environment, Xiaopeng and Xiaoyu looked at each other and smiled. Back this secret realm brings them one step closer to home. Because of the restrictions of heaven, the two's cultivation is greatly blocked here. But placed here, it is also a top-notch existence. The movement on the teleportation array side quickly alerted Danzong's steward. As soon as she arrived here, she saw two familiar people. He twitched his mouth and said, "Why are you here?" The upper world teleportation array that happens once every 10 years actually teleported them back. This made her feel extremely uncomfortable. "Why, are you not happy to see us too?" Xiaoyu was in a rare relaxed mood because of her return. She also became jealous when she saw an acquaintance. "The steward doesn't think we hold grudges, right?" Xiaoyu said to the steward with a smile. The steward rolled his eyes. "Don't you hold grudges, huh? Don't think she doesn't know the temperament of these two people. When they left, they fought with her. In the end, if I hadn't been a bit capable, I would have been tricked by them." Yes, Xiaopeng said with certainty. The disciples around them heard their conversation and wanted to laugh but did not dare to laugh. They all endured it very hard. "Okay, come with me. I'll take you to rest first." No matter what, she had nothing to do with them now. Whether it is cultivation or status, she cannot compare to them. When Xiaoyu saw her helpless look, she felt distressed and said, "Do you want to go to the realm of Weivue?" she whispered in her ear. The steward was surprised. "What? You will let me go, huh?" She didn't believe she would be so kind. "Of course, as long as you want." In fact, she was not to blame for what happened back then. If it weren't for her, they might have been dealt with by Danzong. Although there was some conflict, the result was good. The steward thought she was joking and wanted to tease her. "Yes, I dream about it, but can I go?" "Don't think she doesn't know, they just want to see her laugh." "Little brat, you really need to be dealt with." "As you wish." Xiaopeng understood Xiaoyu, and since she spoke, how could he not be satisfied? After working in Danzong for some time, Xiaopeng and Xiaoyu began to look for a way out of the secret realm. However, after learning from the steward that their mother had come to look for them, they planned to go to Qin. Just as they were leaving, Xiaopeng gave the steward a token from the upper realm alchemy sect and told her to go find Xianxian and the others if she had any trouble. When the steward saw that they were serious about letting him go to the upper world, he was so excited that no amount of gratitude could be expressed at the moment. Looking at her stupid look, Xiaopeng said angrily, "Fool, let's go, Xiaoyu. My mother told me when I was a child not to play with fools." After saying that, he took Xiaoyu and flew away from Danzong. After leaving, they heard shouts and curses from Danzong. The two looked at each other and smiled. In the state of Qin, they finally found out a lot about their mother. Not only mother, but also Xiao Cheng and father came. It's a pity that they disappeared in Qinnan many years ago. The two of them knew more than Xiaobai about how to get out of the secret realm. As long as they broke through the suppression of heaven and directly broke through the space, they could reach the modern city. The word "go home" was very difficult for them, but now they are finally back. Looking at the familiar environment, both of them choked up. "After so many years, I don't know how my wife is doing, Xiaoyu. Let's go directly to Kyoto." They are luckier than their parents. It was dropped directly onto Yanshan Mountain. This is why they are familiar. Okay, this place is very close to her parents' home, but Xiaoyu also misses her wife. After so many years, she doesn't know if she is still there. When she was at home, the old lady was the best to her. Even her sister-in-law, she felt that the old lady was better to her. Hand in hand, the two of them turned invisible and flew into the sky. It only took a moment when we arrived in Kyoto. Looking at the familiar door, Xiaopeng trembled a little. "Xiaoyu," he murmured. "Let's go." Compared to being nervous, Xiaoyu was no less nervous than Xiaopeng. The two of them stepped forward and pushed open the door. The scenery in the courtyard made the two of them pause. The family has changed. Looking at the people walking in the courtyard, the servants at home were also shocked by their outfits. Soon someone came forward. "Sir and madam, what can I do for you?" a middle-aged woman came over and asked. Xiaopeng opened his mouth, but couldn't say a word for a long time. Xiaoyu smiled and took a step forward. "Is this still the He family?" Xiaoyu clasped her hands tightly. She was also afraid that it would take too long for them to return, and that everything would change. The middle-aged servant smiled when he heard her question and said, "It's the He family." "Who are you looking for?" He had a very good attitude. In the past, there was only a husband and wife at home, but now there are several more people at home, so she asked who she was looking for. Xiaopeng also realized at this time that they had been to Qin State and knew that his parents had been to the world of cultivation. He was worried that his parents had not returned yet. So Xiaopeng said, "Let's find He Shiu. The eldest brother will not leave home." Hearing that he was looking for Mr., the middle-aged servant laughed and said, "Come in then. Mr. is not at home today, but Mrs. is here. The person who came to see Mr. must also know Mrs., so it is okay for Mrs. to be at home." "Thanks." The middle-aged servant took the lead, and the two of them followed her as they walked through their familiar yet unfamiliar home. The He family has grown bigger and is better planned than before. The scenery inside is also more beautiful. Soon the middle-aged servant took them to the living room. I also received a call saying that someone was looking for Xiao, and she immediately walked out of the backyard. At this time, they also met in the front yard. Looking at the familiar people, Hua couldn't help but exclaimed, "Xiaopeng, Xiao you. Hua couldn't say the next words because she was crying. Her parents came back, and so did Xiao Cheng. Only Xiaopeng and Xiaoyu were not back. As the sister-in-law, how could she miss them? Sister-in-law Xiaoyu ran over immediately when she saw Hua, and the two held each other tightly. We are back, we are back." Hua cried and patted Xiaoyu on the back. "You are finally back. It's good to be back. It's good to be back." After crying for a while, Xiaopeng pulled them away and asked, "Sister-in-law, where is the madam?" Xiaopeng had already sensed the house and found no trace of the old lady. So he asked, "Madam, isn't she at home? Where has she gone?" The first thing he did when he got home was to find his wife, because he missed her very much. Hearing Xiaopeng's words, Hua couldn't help crying again. "Why are you back? The old lady is gone, gone." Upon hearing this, both Xiaoyu and Xiaopeng collapsed. How is it possible? My wife has always been in good health, and she has the tonics from mom's space, so how could she leave?" He didn't believe it. "Sister-in-law, don't be ridiculous, my wife is in good health, how could she leave?" Xiaopeng's smile was worse than crying. "Cast me Meti." "Then, did the wife go away peacefully?" Xiaoyu asked, holding back her tears. The old lady left with a smile. "Don't worry, the old lady understands you. She didn't know many things at home, and she wouldn't ask, but she knew that the old lady left with peace of mind." Madame Xiaopeng couldn't hold himself any longer. You know, he was raised by his wife, but when she left, he was not there. He was unfilial. "Xiaopeng, don't be like this, my wife doesn't want to see you so sad." Hua wiped away her tears, walked to Xiaopeng, and comforted her softly. She and Xiaoyu each supported one side and helped the person into the house first. The servants of the He family are a little confused. How many children does the old man of the He family have? But they just thought about it and didn't ask any more questions. The servants quickly served tea. Xiaopeng and Xiaoyu's emotions have also calmed down a lot. The two began to ask about the old lady. The servants were also listening. When they learned that the old lady of the He family had lived to be 120 years old, everyone opened their mouths. "Madam, she is living a good life there, you don't have to be like this." The old lady went without any illness or pain. "Sister-in-law, "Are your parents back?" Xiaopeng asked after feeling sad for a while. He felt guilty about his wife, but he also understood that her wife had no spiritual roots and would not be able to live a long life. However, he did not expect that she would go so fast. Of course, it's his fault too, for overestimating his own strength. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come back until now. Had he come back a few years earlier, he would have definitely been able to meet his wife. As long as I come back 5 years earlier, 5 years. Yes, my parents are back. Not only my parents are back, but Xiao Cheng is also back. Don't you know? Xiao Cheng's son is about the same age as yours, Heshan. When Hua wiped away her tears and talked about this, a smile appeared on her face again. The new book Farmer's Blessing Sweet Wife is now online. Please go and collect it, vote, and comment. Introduction: after traveling through time, she became a 7-year-old girl. Xia Yutong's quotes: tall buildings rise from the ground, and you have to rely on yourself to get rich. At the beginning, the family had no 3 acres of land and no money. Xia Yutong has a lame father, a stupid mother, a seriously injured brother and a skinny little sister. Xia Yutong is full of fighting spirit. She is such a loser, how can she not play in this ancient world? Just when she was making a fortune, what happened to this man who wandered in by mistake? Daughter-in-law, since I had you. Someone looked shy and pulled his wife. Shut up, Xia Yutong looked disgusted. He couldn't even keep his family fortune, so he had the nerve to stand and talk. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 576. Chapter 576, Finale 01. Isn't it? Xiaoyu was surprised. When Heshan was born, Xiao Cheng didn't even have a partner. This incident really shocked her. No, but his wife is pretty and easy to get along with. You will definitely like her after you meet her. As the saying goes, it doesn't mean that a family does not belong to the same family. The people in the He family are easy to get along with, so every daughter-in-law who comes into the house is easy to get along with. Just like her, Xiaoyu, the two have known each other since they were young, and they have never blushed in such a long time. Indeed, the whole He family is very easy to get along with. The atmosphere is also harmonious and unmatched by other homes. The two women began to gossip. The housekeeper also called the husband at the lady's signal and asked him to come back as soon as possible. Of course I told them that my parents had returned to their hometown, and Xiaopeng and the others also knew that my wife was taken back to my hometown. If they didn't want to meet their eldest brother, they would have flown back to their hometown of Hejiakan. Not long after, Xiao hurried back. When he saw the person sitting on the sofa, his red frame immediately turned red. It'll be good to come back, it'll be good to come back. Thousands of words can all be reduced to just 4 words. Brother Xiaopeng choked and shouted. With one stride, the two brothers hugged each other. Xiaopeng. Needless to say much about the friendship between brothers, it is all in this embrace. After confessing their feelings, the two sat on the sofa and asked, "Are you still leaving when you come back this time? Of course, you only think about it after your loved ones are no longer around." Xiao feels it now. In the past, when everyone was always together, he thought it was no big deal for his parents and brothers to go away for 10 days and a half. But now, after not seeing each other for several years and not knowing where they are, Xiao can no longer bear the pain of lovesickness. After so many years of separation, he saw all the changes in Xiaopeng's body, and he didn't know how many hardships he had experienced. I'm not leaving. He and Xiaoyu had long been prepared to go home to be with their relatives, and their desire to return to Weivue realm was not that strong. Only after he returned home did he realize that the flow of time in the 3 worlds was different. The decades here have lasted only a few hundred years in the Weivue realm. The master's lifespan is still very long. Maybe he will have ascended when they return. Of course, they believe in their master and will definitely make a successful breakthrough. Hearing Xiaopeng say he won't leave, Xiao was happy from the bottom of his heart. It's fine if he doesn't leave. It's fine if he doesn't leave. Do you know that your medicinal diet shop is doing great business now? When he heard that he didn't want to leave, Xiao's expression changed. There are also more smiles on the face. No, brother, that's your shop now. He doesn't want to do this. Isn't it fun to play with? When Xiaoyu and I left, I said that I will give you everything at home, so you don't have to be embarrassed. At most, you can just keep a room for me at home. With higher mountains to climb, he really doesn't pay attention to the things on the ground. If it weren't for the fact that my eldest brother didn't have spiritual roots, I think he would also be interested in these things now. Brother, just let me live a free life in peace. Thinking back to those days, when the eldest brother grabbed him and wanted to live a smooth life, it gave me a headache just thinking about it. Don't think about it. Even if Xiao Cheng runs away, he doesn't care about it, so you don't care? Are you embarrassed to let your elder brother work so hard at his age? Xiao, you will not let Xiao Peng go. Brother, if you keep doing this, I'll leave in a moment and go back to my hometown to find my parents. This eldest brother can't just be the one picking the wool. Xiao Chen knows a lot, you shouldn't let him go. After saying this, he was so angry that he couldn't pull Xiao Cheng out of the sewer. Don't worry, Xiao smiled happily. Seeing his brother's frightened expressions, he felt happy. He can't run away either. My parents have long said that they will only leave him now, and they will not leave him until 100 years later. Counting the days, if I am in good health and in a good mood, it will definitely not be a problem to live another 70 or 80 years. Thinking of this, Xiao is very happy. He is so happy that he can still have his parents with him in his later years. Hey, brother, let's talk about this later. I plan to go back to my hometown tomorrow. I want to pay homage to my wife. Xiaopeng wanted to leave in a while, but when he saw the smile on his brother's face, he also said the same thing. Not exported. I have no choice but to talk about leaving tomorrow. It's time to pay homage to my wife. She passed away peacefully. Don't worry, she was fine and painless when she passed away. It's just that at such an age, her body can no longer support her. Nothing, let them be free for a while now. That's good. He was most afraid that his wife would still be thinking about them in the last moments. In this way, he felt even more indebted. The two brothers chatted happily, and it was night in a blink of an eye. There is no need to explain to Hua, the steward has already been greeted by Xiao, and he wants to drink tonight. The kind that never returns home until drunk. Hua originally wanted to ask him to drink less, but after seeing how cheerful the two brothers were, she just let them go. She took Xiaoyu and went out to play after dinner. The night view of Kyoto is the most beautiful. The two children at home were sent to Zhangguo during the holidays. Grandpa and Grandma missed them. Hejiakan, Mei Shui and others were playing and making trouble, and they all collapsed at home. I don't want to move anywhere. This game lasted for half a month, and the surrounding area was visited everywhere, and there was no place to go and have fun. Sitting in the courtyard, Anshin felt sad as he watched his eldest brother leave. Brother Ans, am I so hopeless? I still feel sorry for him at this time, Anshin said with some discomfort. Nze glanced at him and said, it's normal. He is your eldest brother. Blood ties cannot be broken off. This situation is normal. Besides, Enlin is not someone who kills people and sets fires that cannot be forgiven. He felt sorry for his relatives, but now he has received retribution. In addition, Anshin's current conditions are not bad, so it is normal to pity Enlin. That's it, Anshin, don't think too much. He is your eldest brother. His bones are broken but his tendons are still attached, and Wen and others also persuaded Anshin. If you feel uncomfortable, just turn a blind eye and take your wife back to Kyoto, Liang said venomously. In fact, they all understand the truth, but the matter did not happen to them, and they cannot make a decision for Anshan. At most, I just express my own opinions. They also knew that Uncle Zhengting and Aunt Zhengting still missed brother and Lin, but unfortunately they did not dare to mention it in front of Anshan. No matter what, the person and Lin felt most sorry for back then was Anshan. I don't know what I should do, taking him back to Kyoto. He was not so selfless. Even if he is his eldest brother, he still can't forget what happened back then. Every time he watched An Cheng and An Liang go in and out of the campus, he hated them. After so many years, this has become a knot in his mind. Now we cannot forgive An Lin just because he is miserable. It's okay, there's no rush in this matter, we're still living in the village for a while, just think about it slowly, when you figure it out, we'll listen to you. That's right, follow your heart. And when An Liang said. And Cheng did not come back this time because the company still needed someone to take care of her. His wife happened to be pregnant again, so he stayed in Kyoto. That's right, and Cheng is now a father of 3 children. This child came by chance, as Mei Shui and the others found out shortly before they came back. As for his wife, she is a little weak because she gave birth to 2 children before. Now she is pregnant with her 3rd child. Even if An Cheng wants to come back, she can't leave. Let alone Aunt Lanhua and the others. Women don't get involved in men's affairs, they have their own affairs. There is no woman who does not love beauty. They all gathered around Mei Shui and asked her the secret of beauty. Where did Mei Shui get the secret? She knows how to practice elixirs. Besides, after cultivation, spiritual energy will remove all impurities from the body, and no man or woman in the cultivation world will be unattractive. It was another peaceful night. After Anshan returned to the room, he talked about his eldest brother with his wife. This is the first time Anshan's wife has heard about the deeds of her eldest brother in the family. After listening, Anshan's wife smiled and comforted Anshan, your status is much higher than him now. Do you think you still have any unwillingness in your heart? She understands this emotion, but she also understands what Anshan is struggling with. Think about it, if he hadn't taken away the family's money and went out, would you still be where you are now? Listening to his wife's soft words of persuasion, Anshan's somewhat irritable mood slowly calmed down. Your wife is right. If he had not participated in the construction of the winery with brother Anwen and the others, would he still be Mr. He of the Bodhi winery now? Even An Liang and the others worked hard bit by bit on their own. Do you have as much ability as they do? The more I thought about Anshan, the more enlightened I became. Yeah, why should I struggle? It's him who should be embarrassed now. After saying that, Anshan laughed, hugged his wife, and kissed her on the face shamelessly. Hands also started to get messy. Daughter-in-law, it's great to have you. They are now an old couple, and Anshan's wife knows how to get along. What's better? A woman looks the same outside, but of course she looks completely different to her man. Anywhere is good, and Shanpi said, the best thing is here. It's warm and comfortable here. The size is just right for me. Wife, you see, it misses you. These days, Anshan has been in a bad mood because of An Lin's incident. Even if he sleeps with his wife, he is the kind of person who can't sleep in the middle of the night. As for his wife, after being tired from playing during the day, she fell asleep as soon as she got home. Now, he thought about it, of course those happy things are indispensable. Anshan's wife blushed when he said, shameless. Haha, what's this? I have something even more shameless, let me tell you. I learned a new trick last time and I'll show you how to play it tonight. The chapter of night begins. This night, the red waves rolled. The next day, when An Lin came to see them, he found that Anshan's attitude towards him had changed a lot. He does not know whether it is good or bad. However, after seeing the color in his eyes, An Lin's heart finally dropped. Brother, you don't have to come so early in the morning, we have prepared our own meals. Anshin got up early to train with Ans and the others because he was in a good mood. Seeing Lin coming, he stepped forward and opened the door. It's okay, I got up early at home, just in time to bring you some vegetables. These vegetables are all grown by me. Anshin stepped aside and let Lin in. He took the dish from his hand and said with a smile, "Brother, please come with us to Kyoto to meet your parents this time. My parents have actually missed you over the years." This is the first time Anshin has called him eldest brother since he came back. Hearing him call him eldest brother again, Lin couldn't help but shed tears. Perhaps he realized that he was crying, so Lin quickly wiped it with water that contained some soil. I won't go." He had no face to see his parents. Of course, he did not dare to see them. It's okay, the past is in the past. If you don't want to live in Kyoto, I will renovate your hometown by then. I can't let you live in this house that is about to fall into ruin. Anshin's heart knot was opened, and his behavior also improved. Be more thoughtful. Anwen and the others all laughed after hearing Anshin's words. But now is their brother's time, so they don't speak. No, brother is rich, so you don't need to renovate it. Besides, I think it's fine as it is now. It's much better than the place where he worked and lived. How can that be done? Anshin would not agree. Our house has not been renovated in more than 10 years. The old wood is infested with insects. I am afraid that the beams will be broken soon. Then I'll renovate it myself, and you don't have to worry about it. You have money for the children to spend. How dare Lin accept his brother's help? It's okay, I just want to make the house look like several others. Right now, our house is a one-story wooden house. Lin is still very capable of action. After making the decision that day, he immediately found Xiao Yi and asked him to help find some people to repair the house. It doesn't have to be too good, just make it almost as good as on Liang's house. With the exception of Brother Ans and his family's wooden building, all the buildings above are made of bricks and tiles. Lin still wanted to refuse, but fortunately Anwen and the others were not watching the show, so they immediately came to persuade him. In the end, Anlin accepted Anshin's arrangement. Since Anshin has accepted Lin, he should also give his parents some peace of mind. Anshin didn't hide anything and called his parents directly in front of Lin to inform him. At first, when he heard Lin came back, Uncle Zhengting scolded him unpleasantly on the phone. Aunt Zhengting also cried very sadly. But when Anshin finished explaining Lin's situation, the two elders became quiet. No more crying or scolding. You just wait in the village, your mother and I will come over tomorrow. Uncle Zhengting hung up the phone after saying this. Lin became nervous when he heard that his parents were coming back. Not even standing, nor restless sitting. Brother Lin, don't be afraid. Uncle Zhengting's temper has improved a lot over the years and he won't do anything to you, Liang advised. But everyone felt that it was better for him not to speak. Zhengtingbo and his wife planned to return to the village, while Xiao Peng and Xiao Yu also left for their hometown the next day. However, the two of them did not take a plane and flew directly in stealth mode. They move much faster than airplanes. It didn't take long to arrive at Hejia village. Looking at the familiar scenery in the village, Xiao Peng was filled with memories. The new book Farmer's Blessing Sweet Wife has been released. Please support me. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 577. Chapter 577, Finale, End. When I was young, my eldest brother, Xiao Cheng, and I liked to come here to take a bath walking on the road in the village. Xiao Peng told Xiao Yu what happened when he was a child. And here, don't look at it. It's a cement road now. In the past, there were big rocks here. When the water rose, it was flooded. We liked playing on these rocks the most at that time. Go straight into the village step by step. This journey is full of memories from my childhood. Look at that mountain, my mother said that is our family's golden mountain, Xiaopeng said proudly, pointing to a mountain in the clouds and mist. That's not a golden mountain no matter how you look at it, Xiaoyu was a little confused. But there are spiritual energy fluctuations on that mountain. I'm afraid my mother-in-law also got the opportunity there. Then you are wrong. My dad said they got a lot of gold on that mountain. How could it not be, Jinshan? Xiaopeng said with an evil smile. After the young couple grew up, people in the village did not recognize them. When they saw two strangers, they just thought they were tourists. Walking on the road in the village, looking at the green rice in the field, the two of them felt as peaceful as they had ever felt before. Soon the two of them reached the foot of their old house. They are both practitioners, and they heard a familiar voice as soon as they arrived here. Xiaoyu, I heard my mother's voice. Xiaopeng excitedly held his wife's hand. Of course Xiaoyu heard it, and she was also excited, but he was the first to do so. Well, let's go up. Hand in hand, we walked up the mountain step by step. At this time, Mei Shui, who was fighting with Li Shuang and others in the room, suddenly stood up. Ans, he shouted outside. Ans was surprised. He was planning to go to the back mountain with Wen and others to see if there were any snakes caught. He was thinking of eating dragon and phoenix soup tonight. Unexpectedly, he heard Xiaoxu's cry, I'm here, what's wrong? Dropping the things in his hands, Ans immediately ran to their second floor. Looking at him like the wind, Wen and others also ran over. Mixu also walked out of the house. Seeing his hurried figure, her eyes were a little red and she said, Xiaopeng is back, Xiaoyu is back. Ans was stunned when he heard her words, but soon he also noticed the aura of the two of them. Indeed, it seems we don't need to look for him anymore, Ans said with a smile. The people who followed the two of them out were all a little confused. But when they looked at the path on the mountain, they were all shocked. It's true that Xiaopeng and the others are back, look. Indeed, after so many years, these two people have not changed at all. Ans took Mei Shui's hand and walked downstairs. Slow down, seeing his wife's urgent steps, Ans quickly held her hand and said. Their gazes were also noticed by Xiaoyu and others. At a glance, Xiaoyu cried, it's mom, dad, uncle Wen, and the others. Xiaopeng followed Xiaoyu's gaze and felt very excited. After many years, he finally saw his parents and relatives. The two of them did not take their time to watch the scenery, and ran quickly to their homes. Soon we arrived outside the gate. The door was open, but the two of them stopped and did not dare to enter. Seeing them like this, Mei Shui glared at them angrily, why don't you come in quickly? Why, after we haven't seen each other for so many years, are you planning to let me and your dad invite you in? Today's Heshan and the others were taken to the mountains to play by Xiaobai early. I happened to not be at home at this time. They also finished lunch and planned to go out to play. Dad, Mom, the child is unfilial. Xiaopeng took Xiaoyu's hand and knelt directly on the ground. Mixu couldn't bear this, and immediately stepped forward to help the person up. Okay, my family doesn't need these, just come back, just come back. The family reunion is more important, so they don't plan to go out. That's right, it's only been so long and you're still giving me such a big gift. You kid is so sincere. And Wen also stepped forward to help Mei Shui lift Xiaopeng up. Soon the two of them were surrounded by everyone. Okay, come in quickly, don't worry about others laughing outside. Well, there are not even half a person on this mountain, who can laugh at them. Yes, Xiaopeng nodded, very moved. To Wen and the others, this time was only a few years, but to Mei Shui's family, it was not a few years, but 100 years. After so many years, no matter how cold-hearted she is, she will still wonder whether her children are doing well. Have you ever been bullied outside? Do you have enough food to eat and do you wear warm clothes? Mei Shui held Xiaoyu's hand tightly, with a distressed look on her face. I've worked hard for you these past years, just follow Xiaopeng and endure the hardship. A woman who is unfilial to her parents and does not take care of her children for the sake of her man is really suffering for her. Xiaoyu shook her head. It's not hard, Mom, we are fine, we just miss you. This is a fact, their opportunities are still very good, but they don't have their parents around. Plus, she felt very indebted to her own parents, but she also knew that her parents were ordinary people, and with her parents-in-law and uncles around, she would definitely not be indebted to them. As a child, I am still very worried. This child is so sweet, but it's a pity that it hurts you. Don't spoil Xiaopeng. He needs someone to keep him company for such a grown-up person. Who is he? Li Shuang is more familiar with them, and she is an aunt, so she feels distressed. Satsuki's very. If he wants to go out from now on, just let him go alone. Isn't it better to stay at home than outside? Xiaoyu listened to Aunt Shuang's words and nodded with difficulty. Elders are like this, and she is very used to it. Well, I won't accompany him anymore. I will take care of the children at home. Speaking of children, Xiaoyu had already looked around, but unfortunately she didn't see her own child. Seeing her like this, everyone didn't understand what she meant. Stop looking, Zhishan is not at home. He went out to play with Zhihan and the others early in the morning, but don't worry, Xiao Cheng is following them. Li Shuang thought she missed the child, so she said. No, it's okay. Okay, stop teasing the child. Mei Shui couldn't bear to look at it, and pulled Xiaoyu directly to bring her closer to her. How can a mother not miss her child, let alone not seeing her for so many years? She is like this herself. Mom, I just miss you. Xiaoyu missed her mother-in-law from the bottom of her heart. Okay, Mom knows, from now on our family will not be separated, we will be together every day until you annoy me. After saying that, Mei Shui left. Because and when and others were around, it was inconvenient to say a lot of things. Fortunately, we may not have seen each other for a long time, so everyone was chatting happily. The conversation lasted until the evening. When Enlin came back from the fields, he brought a lot of good things for everyone. When he saw that there were two more people at home, both of whom he did not recognize, he was a little confused. Hians came over and said to Xiaopeng, "Call me Uncle Enlin." Enlin was a little confused. Is this the legendary second son of Brother Ans? Hello, Uncle Enlin. Xiaopeng was very obedient. Hey, be good, be good, be good. Enlin's hands and feet were a little busy, and he didn't have a good thing on him, so what should he do? Come in quickly, the sun is shining brightly outside, and they happen to be cooking at home. Dinner will be served soon. Hians took the bucket from Enlin's hand and pulled the person in directly. Enlin was not polite to him either. They ate together these days. It's crowded and lively. After listening to Anshan and the others explaining the reasons, Enlin realized that Xiaopeng's nephew had not returned home for many years. No wonder they were so excited. When dinner was almost ready, another sound came from outside the courtyard. Mei Shui looked up and smiled. Xiaoyu, don't work here, go out. Seeing Zhishan and others coming back, Mei Shui started to make trouble with Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu was a little confused. Mom, it's okay, I'll finish all this. Because there were many people eating at home, they had to prepare a lot of meals, and one person couldn't handle it all. Several aunts are here to help. It would be a shame for her to leave now. No need for you, go out and see if the table is set in order to give her a surprise. The person who returned did not know that there was a surprise waiting for him. As soon as he came back, he took out the wild fruits he found in the mountains today and shared them with everyone. But when he saw an unknown person at the table, Zhishan smiled and nodded to him. Did not call. But after a while, he found that the man had been staring at him, as if he knew him. Grandpa Anwen and the others all looked like they were watching a good show. Zhishan touched his head naively, do you know me? Xiaopeng saw his father nodding, and Xiaopeng stood up excitedly. Zhishan, you are Zhishan. Xiaopeng stepped forward and hugged the person with certainty. Zhishan, I am Dad, I am your dad. This was the first time he saw his son in many years. No wonder he was so excited. Zhishan was stunned, and the things in his hands fell down. He opened his mouth, but not a single word came out. But you can tell by the shape of his mouth, Dad. Xiaoyu ran out at this time, and she heard Xiaopeng's words, Zhishan, that is her son. Her son was born in 10 months of pregnancy. Xiaoyu hurriedly ran over and pulled the person out of Xiaopeng's arms. Zhishan, hurry up, let mom take a look. Looking at Zhishan, who looked 66 minutes like herself, Xiaoyu cried, my son, my mother is sorry for you. She didn't have her parents around her at a young age. Maybe it was his mother's tears that touched Zhishan's heart, and his face was also eroded by tears. Mom, he called out the word mom. This time, Xiaoyu cried even more sadly. Zhishan, Zhishan, my Zhishan. Looking at the mother and son meeting each other, everyone's eyes were wet. Xiaopeng couldn't let his daughter-in-law take over his son by herself. Daughter-in-law, let me hug you too. Xiaopeng looked pitiful. At this time, Xiaoyu had no intention of caring about him, so she slapped Xiaopeng away. Zhishan, my mother has been sorry for you and made you suffer all these years. Children in other families are accompanied by their parents, but he was raised by his grandparents and his wife since he was a child. After so many years, this was the first time he could remember seeing his parents. Mom, I'm fine, fine. He lived a good life except that his parents were not around. Now that the whole family is reunited, everyone is in a good mood. Wine is definitely indispensable during dinner. Everyone got drunk. Life in Hejia village was very ordinary, and Enlin's house also took several months to repair. During these days when Xiao Cheng and the others were in the village, they would go to spend time with his wife from time to time. Don't say how cool the life is. Meanwhile, Anlin also received a beating because Zheng Tingbo and the others returned. Hit the son's body, the pain is in the mother's heart. Aunt Zhengting looked at her eldest son, who was older than herself, and felt very sore in her heart. But after seeing his parents accepting his eldest brother so easily, Anshan actually felt a little sad. But he didn't say anything. Anshan's wife saw something was wrong with her man, so she comforted him that night. Fortunately, his wife is with him, which makes Anshan feel that he is not alone. Just when they were about to leave the village, Uncle Zhengting and Aunt Zhengting made a surprising decision. They planned to accompany Enlin in the village. I will spend the rest of my life with Enlin. When Anshan heard this, his heart ached, but he said nothing. Just say respect your parents' decision. When leaving, Anshan asked his wife to take a card to her parents, and then left quietly. Zheng Tingbo and the others didn't know that Anshan was feeling uncomfortable, but how long could Enlin live like this? So they planned to spend the last few years with him. There were just some things they couldn't say to Anshan. Seeing him leave in despair, Aunt Zhengting cried to death. On the way home, Anshan was silent. He finally couldn't stand it anymore and planned to crack him up. After arriving at the rest area, he pulled Anshan aside and asked, "Are you still feeling uncomfortable?" After giving him a cigarette, he asked. Anshan took the cigarette and nodded. "I feel bad no matter how uncomfortable it was." He thought that after that incident, his parents would stand by his side. Unexpectedly, no matter how many years passed and how many things happened, his parents would still stand by him. There is still only brother in his eyes. It's nothing to feel bad about. Your brother only has a few years to live. Your father asked me the night before yesterday. He knew that he was overthinking and told him directly that Uncle Zhengting came to see him. After Zhengting saw Enlin like that, he immediately went to Ans and asked him about Enlin's health. Ans didn't lie to him. And Lin's health was so damaged that even the elixir couldn't restore it. So, his lifespan was only a few years. Hearing this, Anshin was shocked. How could this happen? The cigarette in his hand fell to the ground in shock. Why didn't my parents tell me? Anshin said sadly. Your parents didn't tell you because they were afraid that you would think too much. They also want to spend more time with Lin in the limited time. After all, he is their biological son. Ans patted Anshin on the shoulder. Are you still feeling uncomfortable now? Anshin shook his head and then nodded. I'm not sad anymore, but it's uncomfortable. Ans understands what he means. It's okay, just pretend you don't know. You are also a parent, so you need to understand more about what your parents do in this matter. Ans decided that it was understandable. After Anshin was solved, Anshin's mood improved a lot, but he felt sad again. After all, he is his own elder brother. After returning to Kyoto, everyone went back to their respective homes to find their respective mothers. His courtyard became lively because of their return. The family is truly reunited. After Ans and the others discussed it, they decided to wait for Xiao to leave again in 100 years. When Xiao heard the news, he was as happy as a child, crying and laughing. In the whole play, a new book has set sail. I hope you will support me a lot. Farmer's Blessing Sweet Wife is online. Please ask for it 3 times in a row. Please collect it, ask for recommendation votes, and ask for 5-star praise. Introduction. After traveling through time, she became a 7-year-old girl. Xia Yatong's quotes, tall buildings rise from the ground, and you have to rely on yourself to get rich. At the beginning, the family had no 3 acres of land and no money. Xia Yatong has a lame father, a stupid mother, a seriously injured brother and a skinny little sister. Xia Yatong is full of fighting spirit. She is such a loser, how can she not play in this ancient world? Just when she was making a fortune, what happened to this man who wandered in by mistake? Daughter-in-law, since I had you. Someone looked shy and pulled his wife. Shut up, Xia Yatong looked disgusted. He couldn't even keep his family fortune, so he had the nerve to stand and talk. End of this chapter.